Hey guys, Marcus Melnick here with Firearm Mentor. Hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These little things are free to you and really help the channel. I appreciate your support. Enjoy. Thank you.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome back to the 100th episode of the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor and Stress to Logic, your host. And I'm very excited to talk to you today about some firearm news. So as you know, Illinois has the PICA Act, which is the Protect Illinois Communities Act, which is basically the Illinois assault weapons ban, which I vehemently disagree with. And there's reasons why. Look, I get the whole assault weapons thing. We don't want assault weapons. And I'm not saying we as in Marcus. I'm just saying we as in a lot of people, not me personally. I don't think there's an issue with them, because they're not really used in a lot of mass killings. It's typically a handgun, and there are handguns out there that you can't get now because there's a 15-round limit. You can't get the Glock 17. You can't get anything with 16 rounds in the magazine, even if it is a clip-fed firearm. For example, Keltec came out with a 20-round clip-fed 5.7. I would love to have it, but it has too many bullets, holds too many bullets. I'd also love to have an IWI, which is Israeli Weapons Industries, Jericho, which is their baby eagle. It's not a Desert Eagle. It's a typical steel handgun, but alas, 15-round magazines. So there are people out there that will take your existing magazines that are over that 15-round limit and pin and weld it so that you cannot actually have that. Before you spend any money, though, there are challenges to this law. And this week, on June 17th, the Department of Justice filed an amicus brief supporting the NRA-backed challenge to Illinois' ban on assault weapons and large-capacity magazines. So a week ago Friday, the U.S. Department of Justice filed this amicus brief in the 7th Circuit supporting an NRA-backed challenge to this prohibition. Historically, on January 10th, 2023, Illinois enacted HB, House Bill 5741, the Protect Illinois Communities Act, or PICA, or as I call it, PU, because it stinks, which banned, quote, assault weapons, including over 1,000 previously lawful firearms, and, quote, large-capacity magazines, end quote, which includes 10-round magazines for long guns and 15-round magazines for handguns. Almost immediately, the NRA-backed lawsuit challenging these bans, which is Barnett versus Raoul, was filed in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Illinois. On April 28th, 2023, a few months later, the district court preliminarily enjoined the bans, holding that they likely violate the Second Amendment. The 7th Circuit reversed, however, the holding on November 3rd, 2023, that the bans likely do not violate the Second Amendment. After the Supreme Court declined to hear the case at such an early stage in litigation, the case returned to district court. Then on November 9th, 2024, the district court ruled again in our favor, finding that the bans violate the Second Amendment and entering a permanent injunction preventing their enforcement. The state subsequently appealed to the 7th Circuit, which stayed the district court's ruling while it decides the case. On June 13th, a week ago or so, the U.S. Department of Justice filed this amicus brief on behalf of the United States in the 7th Circuit. The DOJ's brief argues that because PICA bans arms that are commonly possessed for lawful purposes, including AR-style rifles and standard, not high, standard capacity magazines, it violates the Second Amendment under the Supreme Court's test for the Second Amendment challenges. The brief also explains how the Seventh Circuit misapplied the Supreme Court's test the last time it ruled on this case and urged the court to affirm the district court's permanent injunction. This is a win, although not a final win, but it is a win for the firearms community. Hopefully that ban will be lifted and we can go back and carry 16-round magazines. I don't understand the arbitrary nature of a magazine limit. If you can picture a 5-pointed star and each point of the star is a 10-round magazine, they have those for AR-15s. It has 5 magazines. They're attached. Very easy to switch magazines. It's not going to affect anything. But unfortunately, lawmakers believe, we have to do something. So they do this, and it affects a lot of very law-abiding gun owners. A lot of people are talking about this Amicus brief. Let me tell you what the Illinois State Rifle Association said in a statement issued a week ago Friday. The U.S. Department of Justice filed an amicus brief with the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in support of our challenge to the Illinois ban on commonly owned firearms. The DOJ argues that such bans violate the Second Amendment, a position we've consistently maintained since this unconstitutional legislation was first introduced several years ago. Quote, "This historic and unprecedented move is welcomed news," end quote, said ISRA Executive Director Richard Pearson. ISRA stands for Illinois State Rifle Association. He went on to say, "The ISRA remains on the front lines and continues to stand up to Governor Pritzker and anti-gun legislators in Springfield on behalf of the 2.5 million law-abiding, responsible firearms owners in Illinois, and this latest development proves it." The ISRA has been working diligently behind the scenes to ensure that the Trump administration, particularly the Justice Department, holds Illinois anti-Second Amendment leaders accountable for their unconstitutional actions. In a social media post over the weekend, Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon wrote, quote, "The Second Amendment is not a second-class right. See you in court, Illinois," end quote. The ISRA is presently leading the charge as a plaintiff on 2 cases, playing a supporting role in an additional 5 more, totaling 7 cases dealing with constitutional issues and on behalf of law-abiding gun owners in Illinois. This is a pendulum swift, people. It's very interesting how the political parties are kind of collapsing on themselves. And I mean both political parties. There's just a ton of rhetoric out there that people don't, they take as truth, like the whole conversation we had earlier on Second Amendment as a God-given right, even though it's not a God-given right. It is a man-made right. Now, this is more international, but I thought it was interesting to discuss. This is from June 19th. President Javier Milei of Argentina authorized the purchase of semi-automatic and assault-style weapons by civilians via decree, reversing a 3-decade ban in place since 1995. I wonder if they copied the United States ban on assault weapons. Quote, assault weapons. The measure signed by Milei, Cabinet Chief Guillermo Franzos, and Security Minister Patricia Bullrich was published Wednesday in an official Argentine decree. This flows along nicely with campaign rhetoric and a reduction in the minimum age to possess firearms from 21 to 18 years of age that he pushed through about 6 months ago. Argentina still has a lot of gun law in place, and while there appears to be an obligation to bear arms when called upon, becoming a firearms owner has its own set of restrictions. I thought this was very interesting. It looks like there's a little bit of a pattern, and the world may be coming unhinged and allowing people to have guns. Oh my gosh. Well, we found that, and I'm very sensitive to this because I'm Jewish, but we found that a lot of Jewish people are under attack, and I support measures like this because Really, and I worked in law enforcement. I love law enforcement. I love firefighters, but they don't prevent anything. Well, at least for individuals. There is a fire inspection bureau that goes into businesses and does fire prevention stuff with businesses. There is public outreach, but guess what? When you call 911, the fire is already happening. The fire department is responding to address the emergency. Same thing with law enforcement. The incident's usually, not always, but usually over. And law enforcement is there to investigate, to write the reports, to file charges, to investigate causes of death. They're not there to protect the person from the cause of death. They're not going to remove your body from the person you shot because they were trying to sexually assault your daughter. That body's going to be there, and you got to pay to get that body removed. Law enforcement ain't going to do it. You got to pay the coroner. You got to pay a funeral home. So, same thing. Look, we have to be able to self-rescue. That's why I set up CPR classes every other year. One is pending. I don't have a date yet, but I'll certainly share it with my listeners once I do. I do every other year a CPR and modified stop the bleed class where we all learn how to use a tourniquet, quick clot gauze when it's appropriate to do either thing. We obviously don't put a tourniquet around someone's neck, even if they deserve it. That was a joke, everyone, please. I have to qualify this or I'm going to get canceled with cancel culture. No, so I have a paramedic, and this guy has saved, actually two guys, they have saved lives. I've been there when they've saved lives. They are phenomenal trainers. Because guess what? If your child is choking, what are you going to do? Call paramedics and wait 8 minutes till they get there, and then the kid could have brain damage. As a matter of fact, I know a family, and my heart goes out to them. Many years ago, they had a child in the family who choked and died on a hot dog at a Portillo's. It wasn't anyone's fault. It was a fluke thing, but there were fundraisers for him afterwards, and really, I went to the funeral. It was a tearjerker. It was really got me in the feels. I have no idea. I can't even fathom being in that situation. However, there were people at Portillo's who knew CPR, who knew the Heimlich, and they worked him. They tried to save him. And then the paramedics came, and they tried to save him too. And everyone went all out in trying to save this child. But if they just waited for the paramedics, the chances of survival plummet. So you should probably learn first aid. You should probably learn CPR, stop the bleed. And look, the fact that you may encounter a gunshot wound is probably not that likely. But the fact that you may be facing somebody who's seriously injured, car accident, bicycle accident. I know of someone in one of my recent classes told me he fell off a ladder right next to a huge, thick branch that would have impaled him had he landed on it. He landed a couple feet away from it, luckily. But those are the types of things that you need. When I use a chainsaw, I have a trauma kit with me, and I will self-rescue. Just because you're hurt doesn't mean you're out of the fight. It means that you have to get medical treatment, whether that's self-care, calling 911, whatever. And it's going to be a lot of blood. It's going to be gross, but I'd rather see a little blood, get some blood on my hands, than pass away. And this is very, very important for everyone. And the same thing goes for having a fire extinguisher. The same thing goes for even having a circuit breaker. These are preventative ways that people can stay safe. No different than the tool known as a firearm. A firearm is simply a tool. It's a tool for law enforcement. Everyone thinks it's the end. I want to be a cop so I can carry a gun. That's the last thing that people who want to be cops should be thinking. They should be thinking, hey, I want to help people. And a firearm is a tool. Just like a teddy bear in the trunk is a tool for a child who may have gotten hurt or is scared. And yes, there are teddy bears in trunks. There are less lethal weapons in trunks. There are first aid kits. AEDs, the chances of a police officer in the suburbs at least coming upon someone who needs an AED is greater than their handgun. So why not have the tools necessary? Now, I'm not saying every house should have an AED, but for the people that are interested, projectile weapons existed prior to humanity. There have been arrowheads, spearheads found among ruins with Neanderthals, Australopithecus, and all sorts of pre-human, Cro-Magnon, all sorts of pre-human species, meaning projectile weapons predates humanity. For those of the public who want to have a firearm, I provide training. That's it. That's what I do. I don't do I'll report on the political stuff because I have a radio show, but I don't advocate politically. I don't participate in the lawsuits. My niche is educating people. We're going to take a short break and continue the conversation shortly. I want my listeners to know that this is my dream, teaching people about safety. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for my listeners, I couldn't live my dream. So on behalf of my family and myself, I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to live my dream. And I also want to continue to live my dream, and I'm excited to continue to spread the word of safety. Recently, I began a new service as a conference keynote speaker. So if anyone would like for me to speak at future events, or if anyone knows of an introduction or would like to discuss how we can work with one another, I'd love to do just that. The keynote speaking website is www.stress2logic.com. That is STRESS2logic.com. If you're aware of any conference speaking engagements where you'd like to have me speak, I'd love an introduction. You can always share my electronic business card, which is Marcus Melnick, MarcusMelnick.com. Now, back to the show. Marcus, you're a gun nut. That's what I hear from relatives and other people. I'm not a gun nut. I'm a firearms enthusiast. I'm very passionate about safety. Look, I love my physician. I don't want to see him unless we're going out to dinner. So I don't want to get injured. I don't want to go to the emergency room. I don't want anyone else to do that. That's why I do what I do. And this takes me back to a time when I was a child, and my father used to take me to the shooting range. So when I go and participate in classes or teach, whether that's teaching or being a student, and remember, a true expert continues to learn once they've learned it all, it brings me back to a very warm memory of spending time with my father when I was a child. Why is this even more important to me? Well, my father died when I was a teenager. So this really gives me, this is what makes me tick, people. It gives me a warm feeling when I can pass on that information to another person, possibly saving lives. One of my students several years ago stopped a school shooting. Back in February, another student stopped a criminal sexual assault in progress. And other than psychological scars, luckily he prevented it, so there was no physical injuries, which is phenomenal. I hear these stories and I get the feels. It's absolutely fantastic. We need to learn how to help ourselves. Now today, these kids today, I bet you a lot of current youth don't even know how to change a tire. And great, so you're going to sit in the car and wait for AAA or one of the other services. And a lot of cars come with these services when you buy them. You're going to sit and wait. What if it's a snowstorm and it's 3.5, 4 hours before the tow truck can get to you? That's a long time. And if you know what now I can't take apart an engine, but I can change a tire. I can understand when there's something wrong, and it's not just, oh, the car stopped. I have an understanding of what it is and how to fix it, but I might not be able to fix it, but at least I have that understanding. And we're so ingrained in our digital lives that practical things are not a thing anymore. We used to go out and play until dark. That was our time to come home when it got dark. And sometimes when we got older, it was later. When I was a kid, and again, I'm mentioning South Haven, Michigan, I could stay out all night. It was great. As a matter of fact, one time, I don't remember how, it was probably in high school, maybe a little younger, I came home late, and I wanted to do the right thing, so I go in my parents' room to tell them I'm home, and I got in trouble. What the hell are you waking us up for? So there was more to the story, which I will spare everyone, but I didn't have to tell anyone that I was coming home late because my parents, it was a different world back then. And my parents trusted me, never got in trouble. Oh, I mean, I never got caught. Guys, I'm kidding. I never got in trouble. I was able to stay out late. At the time, I was a young person very interested in astronomy. So, yeah, I was a nerd. I mean, I'm still a nerd, but at the time, I would bring out a telescope and look at the moon and look at different Betelgeuse and Sirius and the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, all the I mean, I'm not an expert in it, but I'm appreciate it. So for me, that stuff is interesting. Or you look at Saturn and you can actually see the rings. You can see the moons of Jupiter. Stuff like that for me was great. I actually built a telescope, and I made a Newtonian reflecting telescope, f6.375, by grinding the mirror by hand. It took 2 years. We built the mounts. Everything was from scratch. I still have that telescope. I still look at the sky with it, although I go to bed early these nights because I'm old. But I wake up early, and that's when I actually, I'm an early morning, not a late night viewer. So he was just over a couple weeks ago, and we were able to restore the mirror so that we could use it. It's just a fantastic little tool, and it allows me to explore nature, to explore the outdoors, rather than live in a digital SimCity world where all I'm doing is sitting on my rear end watching TikToks, eating bonbons. So instead, I prefer to get out of the house and get out into nature. It's kind of funny. A couple weeks ago, I had a group of people, and it was a private class, 4 people. Can we do this outside? Sure, that would be great. So we sat I have a little table in the backyard. I have a big monitor. So we did most of the class in the backyard. And most of the concealed carry class is academic. And then when we actually handled the firearms, so I wouldn't freak out the neighbors or have the police, we went inside to do that, into my garage. So we practiced drawing from concealment, grip, stance, all that type of stuff. But we were able to work with the firearms without view of the public. And then the rest of the time, we're sitting around a table, we're having a conversation, I'm doing a presentation. So I absolutely love being outdoors. Now, I also understand sometimes we can't be outdoors. This weekend, I am teaching a class. As this is airing, I am probably in the middle of class. And if I have to do a class in my garage, I have a heater and I have an air conditioner unit that I bought for the garage so people can be comfortable. Also, when you come to my classes, you get all you can drink, coffee, tea, water, or sometimes I have Crystal Light and other stuff. We typically will run out to lunch. We do a lot of camaraderie, a lot of team building, and it's a lot of fun. If you're ever interested in taking a concealed carry class from me, you can go to www.firearmmentor.com/classes. That is FireArmmentor.com/classes, CLASSES. And we have classes scheduled through September 2025. They're once a month. They're on the weekends. But if you have a group of 4 people or more and want to do a private lesson, private class, we are available. We have open slots all the time. And as everyone knows, I do public speaking. Next week, I'm going to be speaking to a group of small business owners regarding street smarts for small business. I'm going to talk about the scams that are out there. And I get scams all the time. There are scams against firearm owners. Hey, I have someone who wants to take a class. They're a family member. They're on holiday. Oh, well, guess what? That's a huge red flag. On holiday. Who talks like that? People from Great Britain. Or the places in the world that they colonized, meaning Africa, meaning Nigeria. These calls are coming in from overseas. Usually it's not even a call. It's a text or an email. And they end up saying, this is the scam. I'm telling you, why are you trying to scam someone who worked in law enforcement? I don't get it. well, we want to do 3 hours a week, twice a week for 4 weeks, and we want to train them. First of all, it doesn't take that long to train someone in use of a firearm. Second of all, that is just the tried and true, over and over again, old, lame firearms scam. Now, why you're trying to scam someone with a firearm is beyond me, probably because you're out of touch of the person and you are actually in another country. I did have a local person scam me out of a roof and siding once, and let's just say I tracked him down. I found him, and he was intimidated enough to finish the job. And I don't mean physically intimidated. I don't do that. But I said, look, here's what's going to happen. You're either going to give me my money back, or the next knock on your door is going to be the police, and I'm not going to back down. I'm going to take this all the way. And you're probably going to serve some time because what you did was a felony. Well, I got my siding, I got my roof. There was some conflict in it, not physical conflict, but we were able to get the contractor paid, the subcontractor paid, and we got a new roof and siding. So now when I have major purchases, I do a little bit more research. That happened when I was newly married the first time. Very young, did not know what I was doing, even though at the time I would tell you I knew what I was doing. Looking back, not so much. I hope you enjoyed this 100th episode. I'm very, very proud of it. Thank you to all of the people. Thank you to Jeff and Joe who have me on your radio station. I greatly appreciate all the support. This has been an absolute blast, and it's not over. It's continuing. We're only a little bit into the story. I've got a couple people lined up for interviews, including from No Shame on You, which is a psychological counseling group, as well as I'm going to be reaching out to someone who makes steel targets. So tune in next week at 11 a.m. at wyml.us, or you can always catch us on YouTube. Thank you and stay safe. We have monthly concealed carry license CCL classes in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Dates can be seen at firearmmentor.com/classes. If you have a question, we can be reached at www.firearmmentorcard.com. That is our electronic business card, has all of our contact information and links in it. It's the easiest way to get a hold of us. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the shooting range. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor signing off. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.